Hi, I'm YL. Some of you might know me from hardcore content, but today we're here to talk about retail. The state of the game in retail has kept me away for the better part of about 5 years now, and while I did do a cameo appearance in Dragonflight, it kind of felt like I was an extra on a Power Rangers set. It lacked the gameplay and the storyline to bring me back in, but it was close. So I decided that when the next expansion drops, I'm going to give it 100%. I'm going to fully invest myself into it. I'm going to see exactly where the content is at. And that's exactly what we did. Now, I didn't do early access due to reasons. We hit the short line with the rest of the launchies, and I did my best to try all the new content. I wanted the casual player's experience. And immediately, the storyline took a turn that gave me so much promise for what was ahead. Oh, this is a clip of me dead. We'll edit this out in post. Now, most of us were extremely let down by the state our boy Magni was left in, having effectively being turned into an Azerite zombie by the storyline. In the prologue quests, this is immediately addressed, and Magni shows a depth of character and awareness to what he'd become. This was the first point at which I'd felt the writers have had any sort of a finger on the heartbeat of character growth and development that feels genuine given their immediate circumstances. Like unfollowing his favorite E-waifu, Magni breaks it off with Azeroth and goes back to doing, well, dwarf stuff. This is the first point in the expansion that I truly felt the writers could be back on the right track and exploring the situations of the characters and developing them in interesting ways. Now, to avoid spoilers, I'm going to wait a little bit before I touch on the rest of the story, but it is the quality that we come to expect from a Blizzard franchise. These guys knocked it out of the park. I give it the storyline probably about a 4.5 out of 5 this time. While initially I was concerned about the barrier to entry, learning how to play Retail Warrior was actually pretty painless. They trickle talents to you in your 2 trees as you progress, and they give you time to learn what your abilities do, building upon it as you level up. You don't have the majority of your kit until level 40 to 50 for most classes. And honestly, well, Retail Warrior... Oh, this is another death clip. Okay, yeah, I probably should have gone through these clips ahead of time. We'll just change this one in post. Retail Warrior is also pretty identical to Cataclysm Warrior. It only has a really small amount of differences in the procs and the ability priority. So I thoroughly played all 3 specs. I played both hero talent setups, and every build feels good. The talent paths very clearly guide you towards single target, AoE, defensives, utilities, giving the player a genuine feeling of impactful customization, and truly more desirable options than you can fit into a build. I actually genuinely appreciated the talents and exploring the different options. Everything feels good to play, and everything is quite strong. While I'm trying to stay away from max DPS listings due to how fresh the expansion is, and because those lists don't really have any effect on a new player or a casual player, but even if you were to do a side-by-side comparison of the different builds, they actually have a pretty small range of variance at the top levels. While I haven't had much time to evaluate all of the classes, the ones that I did look at seem to have a pretty similar average ranges. I fully expect to see massive class and build exploration constantly throughout this expansion. Particularly because Blizzard has actually created the most balanced rate of AoE versus single target boss fights that I've seen from them to date. The players that want to maintain top performing parses are going to have to constantly innovate and be testing different available builds throughout the gear progression due to the relative closeness of talent performance. So all in all, I'll give it a 4 out of 5. Everyone I've spoken to is genuinely happy with how their class is performing. Blizzard seems to have nailed class balancing and class fantasy. Now let's talk about the launch experience. While initially I was opposed to the early access and time-gated content, as we're now a day away from Mythic Plus fully opening up, I'm actually grateful they did it. At times we might need to admit as gamers that we probably need to be saved a bit from ourselves. On launch, we were only able to complete heroics, and then they opened up plus zeros this week, making it pretty easy for even more casual players to level to the cap and then get a little gear established before the next tier of difficulty opens up. Now, I am not a casual player by any stretch of imagination. but I understand that they're the lifeblood and the heartbeat of the game that I love. So I try to imagine every step along the way from their perspective, and I can only see this as a W from a casual POV. Heck, even as a streamer, a tiny, tiny, very small streamer, I was grateful. I had plenty of time to get my gear to the max at every step and genuinely explore other aspects of the expansion that I might have glossed over or skipped a little bit had I not had such a amount of time to work with. I explored professions, secret discoveries on the map. Heck, I was even pet battling, and every step along the way, I was simply impressed by how robust the gameplay is. Even the once mindless task of like bonking rocks now has options for specializations, it has some beneficial cooldowns, and it has gear that lets you tailor and customize your gathering profession to feel like it's more personal to you and what you want from the gameplay experience. Now, let's talk about red flags. The main problem that I've seen, and that has my main concern, is the difficulty scaling for the more casual players. A new player currently progresses from Heroics to Mythic plus 0, which, due to the Mythic plus rebalancing, is roughly equivalent to plus 10s of last expansion. I mean, it's actually probably a lot closer to like a plus 7 or so. But immediately, I'm sure you can see how this would be a massive spike in difficulty for an average player. Certain bosses are especially brutal in this mode, and I've seen a lot of disbanded groups after smashing into these walls hours. The raid follows a similar theme, as the Silken Court is easily the most challenging mechanical fight they've introduced into a normal raid to date. It has several mechanics throughout the fight that require immediate and exact responses from the entire raid, or everyone simply dies. Over time, I'm sure these will be nerfed, but in the current state, these difficulty walls are pretty destructive to casual player morale, likely sending them back to Season of Discovery. Overall, I give the world within a 4.5 out of 5. The game is good. I want to play it. I wake up wanting to play it. I go to sleep wanting to play it, usually in my computer chair, working on that. I'm enjoying all of that. And the real question on everybody's mind is, are we back? And it definitely feels like it. Dragonflight was the recuperatory expansion that World of Warcraft needed to get back onto its feet, and War Within is a banger. I'm currently pushing for Keystone Master and ahead of the curve on stream. I'll be constantly making videos along the way, and I invite anyone here to come watch, come jump in. Always invitation. And I will see you in the next one. For the love of frick, I need more clips that aren't me dying. What